Hello, wonderful students, and welcome to a special series produced by PCSG and CSBS Learning. Hi, I am Ms Chanelle of CSBS Learning, and I am here to give you another quick guide. This time, this quick guide is going to be about the module for communication studies. So, I know if you aren't complaining about the FBA/IA, which is very interesting, I admit. If you aren't going crazy searching for sample answers for paper two, which I don't know why you're doing that because they don't repeat the questions. And getting it correct in class doesn't help your TXC alone, right? Just saying. Um, Also, if you're not complaining about that, you're also looking for paper ones like crazy, the paper ones you're not supposed to have. And another thing you've definitely been doing is going crazy over these modules and wondering, why do I have to learn this? Why is this here? Why am I doing this when I already wrote English and I didn't even choose to do English again? Because again, this is a level up of English. I know some people aren't in agreement with that, but honestly, this is a lot of what English is supposed to be. And in a future series, will probably be a lot clearer. But the basis is in the foundation for communication studies is CSEC English A. However, today we're not going to talk about that foundation. What we're really going to focus on would be the content that is in the modules. From the previous series, the previous videos, you would know that you need to have a knowledge of the content, especially for paper two. Paper two that's good 50%, and that content is basically the facts. How you can apply these facts. All right, the facts come from the modules, and you need to know what each module focuses on. One lovely thing about paper the comms paper is that the modules are definitely defined and definitely separated. So again, you're seeing the page numbers on the screen. Those are where you're going to find the actual information each different module in the syllabus and an copy of the syllabus, right? So without further ado, let us get into it, right? So module one, gathering and processing information. Module two is language and community, and module three is speaking and writing. Now, what I'm hoping I can do is give you not just a better general understanding of what the modules are about, but help you find the right mindset so that you can tackle the modules. Because I do fully understand that this is not necessarily going to be your main academic and occupational focus. However, there are a lot of elements in this subject that can help you academically and with your career if you understand which parts they are, if you understand those elements. Now, before I actually dive into the modules, I actually wanted to recap the aims of the syllabus. I know most people don't sit down in a classroom and recap the aims. However, one of the very few compliments I can give, very, very few compliments I can give CXC, is that their aims are very, very um, lofty and they're very good ideals, I think, right? The aims they have for the exam make sense, and in some cases, they do seem to try to get students to reach these aims, all right? So I'm just looking at the overall aims because it will help us understand how to approach the modules and understand the modules themselves. So one, you have to develop an understanding of the nature of language and its various functions in social, aesthetic, work-related, and other contexts. What does this mean? It means how does language work in general, but then how does language work in different situations? Because language in social situations, it's one type of creature. And then when you look at it when you're in a work situation, you can use school as a work situation. Both tend to be a bit more formal. Then you have different things that may happen in terms of language. All right. Different things happen in terms of somebody you meet on the street versus you're going to your parliament to speak to a member of parliament, right? So that's that first aim. Second aim, develop an appreciation of speech and writing as mental and social processes. Very fabulous. Before you can speak, before you can write, it begins in your mind. All right, so it is definitely governed by mental processes as well as social factors. There are a lot of social factors that govern what we say or what we write. Aim one kind of touched on it. Aim 2 reinforces it. 3, enable students to use language varieties and register accurately, appropriately, and effectively in a range of contexts. Why? Because there are different varieties of language and registers, and they are used depending on a situation. All right. Obviously, when we go into actual modules in later episodes in the series, we're going to explore these in detail. But these are generally what the aims are. Aim 4, to provide an understanding of the use of technology and its impact on communication. So, technology, communication. And in fact, right now listening to this video, this is an actual live example of the impact of technology on communication. What happened in 2020 as human beings try to continue to live lives despite the restrictions and limitations placed to stop the spread of COVID-19 is a very good example of technology and its impact on communication, right? 5, develop an appreciation of the role of language in shaping Caribbean cultural identity. Very important point, why language and culture is somehow inextricably linked. They're very closely linked. For anybody who has started or done foreign languages, at least in secondary school, you will know that you start off learning culture a little bit. All right. I can tell you, as somebody who did foreign language later on in university, we did lots of cultural elements. Why? Because language and culture is one. Yes, we are doing English and not a foreign language, but understand languages are the same. They may have different features, but they have the same. So language and culture are definitely linked. Aim 6, develop an appreciation of the complex process of communication within a wide range of discourse contexts. So you need to be able to appreciate, you need to be able to understand and value the fact that communication is not a simple process. The module looks very simple. However, there are a lot of things that can happen to either interrupt or promote the flow of communication, as well as it may be modified depending on what type of discourse we're looking at. We look at discourse. Discourse basically refers to different types of speech with different purpose. All right. Again, you're going to hear more about discourse in a later video in the series. And the 7th point, sorry if you guys did that, I'm drinking water while I'm recording this, right? The 7th point, the 7th aim is to encourage students to use communication strategies appropriate to specific discourse context. All right. So you have to know which strategies to communicate are going to work depending on the discourse. Again, you're going to understand discourse in a later video. Discourse being communicating with different purposes, and your strategies will change, right? So I want you to understand these basic aims, because no matter where you are in the modules want you to get all this information, right? I actually break down those 7 aims in a lot in a lot simpler way. And I have it on screen right now. So you can look at it as communication, linguistics, grammar and vocab, understanding and expression. All right. Essentially, all the modules can be synthesized. Oh my God, did I use a wrong word? Let me use a simpler word because apparently I didn't use it correctly. All of these modules can be reduced to, I think, these particular concepts, these particular words, right? Communication is more or less going to be module 3. Module 3 is the speaking and writing module. And in that module, you're going to focus on language skills. You're going to focus on written versus um, oral communication, which is a major part of your exploration of language in module 3. Module 3 also looks at the different types of language, the mental process, the social process, channels of organization. All right, it's going to look at all the information in terms of technology. So that's communication, right? I just call communication, that's the communication part, right? Then when we look at linguistics, we're actually looking at module 2, language and community. That's a section that I know gives a lot of issues, causes a lot of issues because of how new some of the information is. In this section, you're going to learn about language, but you're also going to learn about Creole and Creole linguistics in brief, as well as how language operates in society, how it has been shaped by Caribbean, or how it has shaped our Caribbean identity, as well as the actual situation and language and communication. All right. Now I said it's linguistics. Linguistics is, if you're not aware of it, the actual study of language. It is a science of language. Do not consider communication and linguistics to just be English. This is not just we're going to sit down and write a story. This is the science of the mechanics behind why we write the story this way. It is the science behind why in a sentence I put the noun first in front of the verb, um, in English syntax or English sentence construction, right? It is a linguistics in particular is the study of all languages because it sees all languages in general, it sees all languages as equal and looks at the different parameters and the different situations and the different elements that may affect or impact language. Communication is also very similar. It's looking at communication in all its different form. And if you've already started module 3, you'll know you would have been introduced to verbal and non-verbal communication because you can communicate non-verbally as well. So communication, I want you to think of communication as module 3. I want you to think of linguistics as module 2. When I did this actual session, I even told students who are doing sciences who might feel daunted. I know some of you science math students sometimes say, oh my God, I don't do English. I am not an English student. This is too much. But I did say to the science and math students that you all may have an advantage in module 2 because it tends to be a bit more technical. Linguistics is a bit more technical. Even the communications is a bit more technical. All right. Again, I kept saying it's a science. All right. So if you approach it with that mindset, it can be a lot easier for you to grasp. For those who are non-science students, this does not mean it's going to be impossible for you. No way. It just means do not just think of this as English, right? Again, what I said in the beginning is that the foundations of communication studies began in English A, CSEC English A. This is now an elevation of it, where you're learning principles and theories behind it. So you're actually getting more knowledge and looking at it from a more objective point of view. So that's really the difference. So it still is going to be something that you can work on. All right. So no need to worry. Then grammar and vocab. Grammar and vocab. I would say a lot of what we consider grammar and vocab is actually across the board, especially in terms of how you have to respond to the questions. If you've listened to the episode uh, that looked at a quick guide to paper 2 or the quick guide to the entire comms exam, you realize that you do need to have good organization with grammar because grammar can fall under expression. Vocab as well can fall under expression. However, you still need to be mindful of it. So I separated it so that you'd be aware of it. All right. And we have understanding. All right. Understanding, I would kind of put this in module 1. All right. I'll put this in module 1 because in terms of comprehension, there's some new information for you to understand and comprehend. Um, but in terms of your basic comprehension of certain features, it's included in module 1. So that covers understanding discourse types and understanding their purpose. You must know. So I'll give you a quick insight. Discourse is divided into expository or argumentative. Those are two different types, right? That you could be looking at. You must know when you look at a piece of writing that, hey, is this expository slash factual, or is this argumentative slash trying to prove a particular point? All right, that comes from your sense of what I am calling understanding. So that's module 1. Also under that would be with the levels of comprehension. I will be discussing that in a later episode. I think it's very informative. But again, comprehension is understanding as well as being able, all the elements of data collection and evaluating the information that would be covered for like a research paper for the SBS/IA. I would consider all of that understanding. because you've got to understand what you're looking at and what option to choose. Even evaluation is based in understanding. Again, in a later episode, we will cover the levels of comprehension and expression. Expression is expression the way it's used for the syllabus for com studies is basically your language. Would have been called language in English A, and it's how well you write. Now, how well you write doesn't mean you're a world published writer, doesn't mean that you're using all the words in the world, doesn't mean that you're using the biggest words in the world. It means using the right word at the right time in the most appropriate and effective way. That's what good expression is. So you're looking at your sentence construction, your paragraphing, you're looking at um using precise language. And a lot of this information is actually, especially if you have the Collins study guide, it's in there, module one. I do recommend that textbook as a really good study guide. It is very insightful. Again, you should use more than one textbook, but to ensure that you understand the basic data, I do believe the does a really, really good job. All right. So that is it for a quick guide. Again, it's a quick guide. It is not a deep dive into these particular modules. As we move on into the series, we'll be going into module one and start examining some of the information that's under gathering and processing information. After that, we'll be looking at module three, speaking and writing, followed by language and community module two. I like this particular flow, this particular sequence, because I think it makes a lot more logical sense, as a lot of this information is undeniably new for many students of communication studies. All right. So I hope the information here was helpful. I know it's very brief, but I do hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them below. Once again, this is a series that is produced for you by PCSG and CSBS Learning. Have a great day. Bye.